Be me, 19, apartment 2-bedroom over a diner that never closes. College kid with a job at a coffee shop, paying my half of rent in late fees and ramen. Hooking up casually for a few months with Ethan. Ethan is tall, good hair, knows how to smile like he owns your attention. We both know it's casual. We both agree on casual. That was the deal. Or so I thought. Last night started like normal. Movie night at his place. Old couch, blanket with a hole in it, cheap popcorn from his pantry. He was leaning in more than usual. Flirty in the way that makes you blush and think about skipping class the next day. I'm not naive about chemistry. We both laugh at dumb lines, steal snacks, bump knees. Then it shifted. Small thing at first. He pulled me closer like it was his right. Said something soft like a page from a podcast about consent and power. I like it when you're honest, he said. Honesty is my weak spot. I told myself it was fine. I didn't realize it was the start of the rulebook. He started whispering things that made my skin electric and also weirdly small. Afterwards he tapped my phone, like a parent approving a curfew app. No pics tonight, he said. I said okay. Felt normal enough. Then he tilted my head back and said, "Open up." My brain accidentally agreed before my mouth could protest. The rest is blurred in memory the way bad movies blur the dangerous parts with quick cuts. I'll be honest, it felt intense. It felt like being turned into an object for 2 hours and then set back down like nothing happened. When it was over he wiped my face and smiled like he'd performed a miracle. "Look at you," he whispered. "Such a good little thing." I laughed in a way that sounded like me but wasn't. Somewhere between the laugh and the smoke alarm I said something stupid and honest. "I like when you make me feel like a slut." Came out like a hiccup. His face changed in a way that made my stomach fall through the floor. Not bad change. Predatory change. His eyes sharpened like a pocket knife. "Then be one," he said. After that he said everything people on the internet say about labels and power. Then he said, "We're not doing casual anymore." I remember planning a mental exit strategy like you plan an escape route in a movie. I said, "That's not what we agreed." He laughed softly, like he'd been told a joke he underestimated. "Agreements change," he said. "People grow. First rule. We are exclusive, but don't use the word exclusive. Second rule. I don't want you seeing other people, but also don't tell anyone we're together because that ruins the vibe. Third rule. You let me set the tone. Also, mandatory check-ins after 24 hours if you're out past midnight." I told him that sounded controlling and he said, "That's not controlling, that's care. Care, care, care." I left in the morning with a note on my mirror. "Do not be a doormat." I kept the note folded in my pocket like a talisman for a week. Then Ethan texted me a screenshot of an Instagram story I didn't even know he'd saved. It was a blurry photo of us on the couch. Captioned "My girl." No faces, just silhouettes and a heart emoji. He used it to reframe things. "See?" he said. "I was honest with you." I said, "You took that without asking." He said, "You let me." That sentence is a pivot I replay in my head when I can't sleep. He added new rules like price tags. "No long hair in public," he said. "It attracts attention." "Don't go to Jamie's party," he said. "I don't like him." "If you're going to talk about us, make it clear we have boundaries." The boundaries always looked like cages when I drew them in my head. I tried compromise because I'm not a drama magnet by choice. I suggested transparency instead of secrecy. "Tell me if you're seeing anyone," I said. "I'll do the same." He curtly agreed. 3 days later he cornered me outside my class and said, "You can't be seen with Mark." Mark is a classmate who once smiled at me in the library and asked about the homework. I rolled my eyes. Ethan's jaw tightened. "I want you to be careful," he said. "He posts things." "So do you?" I shot back. "You post highlight reels and I know where you are half the time." He walked away saying I was dramatic. Dramatic had become his favorite weapon. He'd manufacture moral high ground in 2 sentences. He'd say, "This is for your healing," and suddenly I felt ungrateful for healthy boundaries. He used self-help language as a leash. It came to a head during Thanksgiving week. My family lives 3 hours away. I told him I was going home. He texted 17 messages in 10 minutes asking what time I'd be back, who would be in the house, whether my cousin Riley was single now. He asked for photos that were basically surveillance. I set my phone on Do Not Disturb and drove away. Dinner was all sarcasm and anti-jokes until my sister dropped an offhand comment about my new thing. I panicked like someone who'd forgotten an exam. I lied and said, "What new thing?" She said, "The Instagram thing, the stories." I choked on stuffing. Later my mom called, voice small and brave, asking if I was okay. I said yes and hung up and felt like I'd practiced deception in a children's theater. I texted Ethan to tell him I wanted space. He replied with a single period. Periods from him mean storms. 2 days later, a mutual friend sent me a screenshot of a message Ethan sent the group chat. He wrote about me in the kind of language that makes your face hot with embarrassment. "People don't understand what it means to be with someone like her," he wrote. "It's a privilege." The message had 32 reactions, mostly laughing emojis. I stared at the screen until the house spun. People I waved to in passing had opinions about my sex life now. The world had compressed into other people's gazes, and I hated how small I felt. I confronted him in person because confrontation is cleaner than passive fear. We met at the coffee shop where I work sometimes. The barista smiled, the secret smile of someone who knows about office drama and isn't surprised. I said, "Why did you post that?" He smirked like he was reading me aloud, and I didn't hate it for a second. "I didn't post it," he said. "I told a group how lucky I am. That counts as posting in Ethan speak." I tried to draw a line. "You can't talk about someone like that without their say-so," I said. He tilted his head. "You literally told me to be honest. I told you how I felt. Not for you to weaponize it." He waved a hand. "Weaponize? Okay." His tone was clinical, like he was diagnosing my overreaction as some disorder he'd read about in an article. We argued like two people who refused to fully recognize the other's humanity. He kept changing the rules mid-conversation. "We're private but exclusive" became "We're exclusive but don't post," which became "We're exclusive and publicly ambiguous." Each time the words changed, the cage tightened. I told him to stop with the rhetoric that made me sound like I was broken and needed fixing. He scoffed and said, "If you cared, you'd meet me halfway." Meeting him halfway now felt like standing on a plank over water, and he was sawing at the center. The hypocrisy was delicious to him. I saw it in the way he claimed values he didn't practice. He posted a story about consent is sexy, while telling mutuals how wild I am. I realized he was balancing two personas like a performer juggling knives. Public persona. Woke, respectful, emotionally literate. Private persona. Possessive, theatrical, punitive. I started confiding in Jamie, my roommate. Jamie is the only person who knows the messy truth about my life and also knows to make coffee at 3 a.m. "Just leave," Jamie said, simple as toast. Leaving is an Olympic sport when people are invested in your chaos. I tried to leave once in a small way. I stopped answering texts for a weekend. I thought absence would be clarifying. Instead, Ethan posted a poem on his story about the one who disappeared and how some people aren't ready for realness. Friends pinged me asking if we had broken up. Everyone's thirst for narrative is relentless. Then came the demand that finally made me see the selfish architecture of his mind. We were at a dive bar for a band jam night. He told me to go on stage with him during the band's break. I was wearing jeans and a thrift band tee and thought what happens on stage stays on stage. He grabbed my arm, half rough, half proud. I said no. He said yes for me and dragged me up like we were props. He introduced me as mine into a microphone like it was a title one earns. He made a joke about how she's only mine tonight, and the crowd laughed. I felt my face go hot like someone poured gasoline on my cheeks. Afterwards, he clapped me on the back and called me dramatic when I stormed out. A day later, he texted me a screenshot of the video and wrote, "Nice and public now. How do you feel?" Public embarrassment started here like a seed in rotten soil. I'd expected casual to mean anonymous heat and mutual respect, not a social performance where he got to set the stage. He loved spectacle the way some people love their cars. Spectacle fed him fuel and I was the cheap gasoline. The rules multiplied. No late-night shifts without telling me. Wear the ring I bought you when we go out. Don't talk about your ex unless it's framed as learning. One night at 2 a.m. he called me crying about nothing and everything. He texted me a paragraph about how his childhood friend betrayed him and he couldn't trust anyone. Then he accused me of being too casual and not protective enough of what we had. He used protectiveness like a virtue while being the only one who demanded protection's shape. I tried therapy metaphors on him like hand-me-down clothes. This is about boundaries, not ownership, I said. He scoffed and said, I'm protecting you from degradation. Degradation, according to Ethan, is anything that doesn't fit his script. I didn't even recognize the moral language he used anymore. One bad night, we argued in the parking lot outside my job. I remember the fluorescent light humming and the smell of burnt espresso beans. You're making this about control, I said. He smiled like he was the sad hero in a bad movie. I'm making this about dignity. He started using therapy words to gaslight me. You say consent, but consent is contextual. I'm trying to contextualize you. Contextualize is a word people use when they want to change the meaning of what happened. He started rewriting days and nights like footnotes in a textbook. I'd say, you crossed a boundary, and he'd say, no, I expanded your comfort zone. Expansion is what abusers call it when they burrow further into your life. It was dizzying trying to explain nuance to someone who weaponized empathy. I stopped telling my best friend Claire things because every reveal felt like raw meat in a shark tank. Claire would listen and then say, that's abusive? What are you doing? I hated that word like a splinter under skin. The next week, Ethan announced to a small circle at a party that I was learning to be brave. Brave is a word he used when he wanted applause. I told him to stop broadcasting my growth like it was a performance piece. He said, you owe me for making you better. The audacity is a thing that still makes me laugh bitterly. One morning I woke up to find a box at my door. A cheap silver band inside with a note. Wear it, so I know you mean it. It wasn't a ring of love. It was a prop of possession. I threw it in the trash and felt like I'm flushing a little piece of my dignity. He found out and didn't act surprised. I figured you'd be dramatic, he said. I like that you fight. It feels real. I realized the core of his madness. He didn't want partnership. He wanted validation for his role as a savior/scorer. He wanted to play both victim and hero in a story where no one else gets lines. He wanted to weaponize my shame and call it intimacy. This is the unreasonable character the rules demanded. He introduced moral frameworks mid-fight and doubled down when cornered. This is feminist, he told me once mid-argument like a punchline. It was grotesque watching him garnish control with ideology. I tried to leave for good after he posted a video of a night where I had been fuzzy and smiling. He blurred my face but left the voice, with me mouthing something that looked like consent in a noise-sick clip. He captioned it, "Consent is messy. Stop policing people. The internet is a forest fire when it wants to be." Someone recognized my laugh and tagged me. My boss saw it. "Are you okay?" My boss asked in Slack, which is not the place to probe trauma. I fumbled replies and then deleted them and rewrote them like sentences on a test. I had to talk to a manager about rumors. The manager said, "We don't care about your personal life, but there's chatter. Chatter is corporate code for danger." I wanted to scream that my life wasn't a narrative for other people's entertainment. Instead, I filed an incident report. I wrote the truth until my hands cramped. The report was clinical and sharp and felt like a surgeon's scalpel cutting a tumor out of me. HR called me in for a meeting and the woman, Laura, had a face that suggested she'd read graduate school case studies and then become exhausted of people like Ethan. I told her everything I could, precise and sanitized. Laura asked if I wanted an investigation. I bit my lip until it bled metaphorically. "He hasn't hit me," I said. "I'm not sure if this is actionable." Laura said, "We investigate harassment claims based on behavior, not on whether someone used the word violence." I realized the world required boxes with checkmarks before it would help me. Still, Laura took notes and typed the word pattern of control, with the same calm as putting coffee beans in a bag. Ethan meanwhile got theatrical and posted a long piece about how relationships are complicated and we shouldn't cancel men for being imperfect. He defended his reputation with a preacher's cadence. His followers sent me messages that read like a checklist of accusations. She's a drama queen. She's unstable. She's making it up. I started seeing my own life from the outside. It was ugly and surreal. I'd been reduced to character traits in other people's brains. I tried one last honest conversation with him at midnight in the parking lot behind the coffee shop. There were only the hum of the sign and the distant clacking of train tracks. "This can't keep going like this," I said. "You can't keep changing the rules." He stared at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve without disassembling it. "You're lucky," he said softly. "Most people never find someone to fix them." "I don't want fixing," I said. "I want partnership." That word startled him. Partnership wasn't in his lexicon except as theater. He smiled like a man with a plan to sell me back to myself as an upgrade. "We're not compatible," he said, in the way people say things to end a relationship and start an argument at once. He put his hands in his pockets and walked away like the scene had been closed by a director with an expensive taste for drama. I thought that was the end, but endings were elastic with him. 2 weeks later, I opened my email and found a file titled Clarification, addressed to 3 people. My manager, Laura from HR, and my professor who also happened to be head of the local volunteer program I was part of. In it, he painted me as the guy who led him on and then lied about it to get attention. He used a tone of moral outrage and righteous hurt, quoting lines I'd said in moments of vulnerability like he was annotating a confession. He accused me of using him for status and performative pain. The language was a scalpel made to slice me into tidy bits. I filed a reply that was honest and exhausted and full of punctuation errors from my hands shaking. My professor wrote back with a line about "we take these matters seriously," and an attached form about conduct. Everything was official now. My parents called finally, because the grapevine had reached them. My father asked me if the rumors were true, and I told him the parts that didn't make his voice go quiet. He said, "People will pick at this." I understood that was code for "you'll have to fight this." Fight felt like an antonym for the quiet I wanted more than anything. I tried to explain to my friends, but words were heavy and greasy, and slid off people's phones like oil. Friends picked sides or picked silence. Jamie took my cat for a weekend because they knew I'd be a mess, and also because sometimes you need someone to feed the beast while you're emotionally incapacitated. I thought legal action might be the bright arc of a movie I'd seen in clips. Lawyers told me it's messy, expensive, and the kind of thing that leaves you repeating yourself until your memory is a sieve. So I wrote a careful message to the class group chat explaining my side without venom, because I still believed in being the person who doesn't burn bridges unnecessarily. Some people replied with empathy, and a handful with skepticism, and one with a meme that almost made me laugh through the panic. He had already seeded doubt into people like a farmer planting evergreens in an ocean. The last scene is now the one that won't stop playing. I was with Claire at a coffee shop and she showed me a thread on a local forum where strangers were debating me like I'd enrolled to be a spectacle. "She wants the spotlight," one comment read. "She's manipulative," another wrote. I ate a muffin and felt like a spectator in my own life. I kept waiting for some moral arc where the universe corrects itself. It didn't happen. Laura closed the internal investigation because there wasn't a single illegal act that met the threshold for disciplinary action. Pattern of control was not enough without other boxes ticked. Ethan's emails kept arriving politely worded and self-justifying. I tried to block him on everything and he found ways to call mutual friends and drip narratives like poison. My friends slowly rearranged like houses moved by wind. The bridge between my old life and some future was still standing but charred and wobbly. I moved out a month later, took the stairs up 2 flights to a cheaper place with bad plumbing and better light. Jamie helped me haul boxes at 5 a.m. and didn't ask for thanks. I quit the late shift at the coffee shop because the backroom memories were stinging too sharp. The town kept whispering in small ways. I got suspicious smiles in class and the barista didn't make eye contact for a week. I tried to build a new routine like laying bricks in soft wet sand. Sometimes the sand holds. Sometimes it doesn't. I dated briefly after, someone who liked podcasts and made playlists that smelled like incense. It didn't last because I was carrying an armor made of embarrassment and I didn't even know how to take it off. People told me to be brave like it was a thing you order on an app. The worst part was the silence where I expected accountability. The community didn't rally like in the movies where truth is a sword and reputation a villain. Instead, people shrugged and went back to not knowing you as a full person. Ethan posted once in a while, smiling in the city's filtered light, declaring vague thoughts about growth and respect. People liked the posts. I tried to tell my story in a longer message once to a small podcast host who agreed to give me 15 minutes. I rehearsed the cadence of vulnerability like a speech, clarified the parts about consent, about control, about language being used as a leash. On the day, my voice cracked and some listeners sent supportive messages and some sent hate and some sent silence. What do you do with silence? I learned to carry it like an extra coat in winter. Claire moved a half-state away for grad school and promised to call on bad days. Jamie moved the cat into my apartment because pets are honest and soft. I kept the note from my mirror folded in my wallet for months. Do not be a doormat, it said in an ink that was pressing thin. I am not healed yet. I am a work in progress that someone else got to edit without my permission. The ending is messy like leftover takeout, soggy and unresolved. The unreasonable character won some small battles because the world likes tidy narratives and he knew how to sell one. No one came with banners to declare him wrong in a way that mattered. I am left clearing plates and picking at the crumbs of dignity that remain. I am still human, still flawed, still trying to find language that resonates beyond the rumor mill. Sometimes at night, I replay his smile and wonder how someone so convincing could be so wrong. Sometimes I close my eyes and remember the small kindnesses like Jamie's midnight tea and Claire's voicemail of 3 long sentences that said, I'm here. I don't know if he'll change his script. I don't know if the rumors will die or morph into other rumors. I don't know if I'll ever feel like I did before, when being wanted felt uncomplicated and not weaponized into theater. I do know I can't make him see the thing he doesn't want to see. He will keep writing rules that justify what he wants. I will keep telling myself the differences between care and control. The story doesn't tie up neatly. It stops in the middle of a breath and keeps going. End? Not really. Just a comma and a long, tired exhale.